All right, today we're going to talk about physical limitations in the downswing. We got a great question from one of our good viewers who wants to know some physical limitations we see on the downswing. All right, so the question was from Drew Kohinke, I think. Drew, we apologize. We're going to use a lot of names in these videos. We're going to butcher a lot of names, so we apologize up front.
Sorry about that.
And two rednecks here. One redneck, one redneck transplant. We're going to butcher a lot of names. The question was, what physical limitations do we see a lot on the downswing? And to be honest, everybody's got some sort of physical limitation. Most people have some sort of physical limitation.
Absolutely.
But that's not what's keeping them from playing better golf or good golf. We see far more conceptual limitations than anything, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, and don't misunderstand what we're saying. I mean, there are a lot of people trying to make swings that they physically cannot make.
That's a great point.
And I think everybody should probably go see a physical therapist and get at least looked at to make sure they don't have any huge issues that may cause injury down the road or maybe really holding you back. But I think the main thing that holds most people back, like Mike said, are conceptual limitations. Or almost like these swing myths that we talked about.
Absolutely.
That hold them back more than anything else.
Absolutely. And if you're having a difficult time physically making a certain golf swing, whatever you're trying to make, you can certainly try to improve. We're all for trying to improve your physical prowess out there on the golf course. But it also may be a case of you're just trying to do the wrong swing, especially for where you are physically.
And that may show up on video as, oh, it looks like you have this physical limitation.
That's right.
But when in fact you're putting yourself in such a bad spot, your body can't move there even if you had no physical limitations.
All right, so let's take Drew's question and kind of flip it on its head. Let's talk about three big conceptual limitations that can sometimes look like physical limitations.
Okay, so Mike and I probably agree on this one. A big one is the staying connected. And especially on the backswing. We'll just use backswing for now, as it ties into the downswing also. But you know, I see golfers coming to my lesson tee, and Mike does too. And there's even some training aids that force them into these positions, but they're trying to keep the upper arms really pinned down.
So right, kind of the bicep area just squoze to the chest.
Yeah, they're just holding the arms close to the chest, and then trying to make this classic one-piece takeaway without any arm movement or arm elevation, and it ends up starting to club in this way too much. So from there, you know, I could look at my swing on video and say, oh my God, I'm inflexible. I don't have a long enough backswing to even play golf.
You need more rotation.
Yeah, more. but in reality, you know, there's arm lift in every good golf swing. I mean, if I make a normal backswing like this and take out the turn and go back to my address position, I mean, my arms have a decent amount of lift just to get a normal looking backswing. So that would be probably the first one that could almost look like a physical limitation, but in fact, you're trying to pin your arms down, which is causing the look to begin with.
Right,
So
and this especially with the left arm to the chest, we can measure this with gears.
Yeah.
And the pros are not restricting that movement. They're actually taking that left arm off the chest.
Yeah, and the initial question was about the downswing. So if I get here, or even if I made a normal looking backswing, I think the connection problem again is a huge issue if you try to stay pinned, because every tour player we see lets that angle grow, the left arm to the chest, right? And some of the poor players that we have come across and put them on gears, they hold that angle way too long, which we talked about before, just puts the body in a bad spot and limits club head speed.
Which leads us to number two.
Number two. Okay, so number two is the whole concept of getting behind the ball, whether that's a address, top of the backswing, or downswing, right?
Right.
And obviously at Impact, we've all seen, and I think this is where everybody misses the boat on this. You know, we've all seen good players at Impact. Their hips are forward, they've got some upper body tilt, whatever you want to call it, access to it. Hands are slightly forward, pressure's forward, and they have this look where, like, you know, major champion. Right?
Sure.
Now, the thing that people, I think, misconstrue here is that, oh, hey, if that's how you're supposed to be at Impact, why don't we just set up like that and try to stay in that tilt the whole swing?
Just take out the middleman.
Take out the middleman. Now, the road from A to B doesn't always go in a straight
straight line.
line, right? So we got to, if the car goes into the tunnel, we don't know what happens in here. We just see it come out the
That's
other
right.
side,
That's
right?
right.
So what we've learned from the best players in the world is that, let's just talk iron for a minute.
Okay.
The setup position, spine is very straight. You're going to get some shoulder tilt
Right.
with the hand below the left, or the trail hand below the lead hand. This puts you in a bad position to begin with, because the reason for that is at the top, the best players actually keep their spine very neutral, centered basically between their feet. So if you're trying to get to this position at the top, but you're already starting from here, that puts you in a disadvantage because you have to make this kind of counter move to get back to the middle.
That's exactly right. It's the idea is sound, right? So
Yeah.
I know where I want to be at impact. And again, us as instructors, we're the ones that put out all of these freeze frames of impact.
Yeah.
And really we show the Z, sometimes we'll show A, but we're not really doing a good job of showing all those letters and all those paths in between.
Absolutely.
So getting to this nice tour major championship look happens in a lot of ways counterintuitively,
It does.
which is what you're talking about the spine going left, and then the pressure from the ground is able to tilt you rather than you trying to manufacture a lot of tilt.
Absolutely right. And let's go back to the initial question of the downswing. So once you're at the top here in this good position, the best players are staying fairly neutral as they shift pressure left. And like Mike just said, the later on is when all that tilt happens. So if you're having a hard time, even at the top of the backswing, it goes back to that, okay, I can't make a long enough backswing. So that ties into this as well, because if I'm leaned over here over my right foot too much, I can't make my arms go up around. Now look, just by doing that, I get into a better spot.
Which again, if to the untrained eye, looks like a physical limitation. I can't turn enough.
Exactly right.
Because you're not really turning, you're kind of fake forward bending turn.
Yeah, so I think that covers that particular one.
Right.
That's a huge one. And I think the more I see great players and in the gear system, I'm going away from
Absolutely.
having people do this at all.
Absolutely, 100%. So number 3 ties into both of those. And it's the idea of we need more rotation, right? It's so in vogue right now to get more rotation
Yeah.
right off the bat in the downswing.
Yeah.
What's the difficulty or what's the reason that's not always a great idea?
So I've had some people come through, I've been teaching a long time, that have tried to do that. And it's gotten,
Sean's actually 74 years old.
Yes, I am actually 74. I'll be 75 soon. They're trying to get all their rotation, they're firing their hips and firing their upper body straight from the top of the swing, thinking that that's going to help them get more open at impact. But the problem with that is if I use up all my rotation early, I have an issue with the hands working out too much. Now the hands, we've done another video, kind of down and out.
Yes.
So there's an out element, but if you work them out too much with body turn really aggressively initially in the transition, so let's say you're in this spot. Well, if I continue to open, I could whiff the ball, right?
Yes.
So as golfers, we are good at last second adjustments.
The alarm bells go off.
Yeah, so I'm out here, I'm trying to get open, but then I freeze frame myself on video and I'm actually closed. Well, the reason that you look closed on video is not because you didn't try to rotate, it's because you used up so much rotation, you kicked the club out in front of you excessively, you know that you're not going to hit the ball from there, so you're actually going to start going the other way, tilting your spine back, closing your body off just to make contact. Stop that on video and you're going to think to yourself, oh my God, I don't have any rotation.
That's right. The win, we're very big on the win, right?
It's all wins.
So no one ever forgets to get the club to the ball.
No.
So the idea of turning while leaving the hands and arms up here, maybe for some players,
Yeah, it might work for some players.
but the reality of that situation does not happen. If you turn hard and leave the hands and arms up here, the hands are going closer to the golf ball.
Absolutely.
And that does not produce good golf shots.
No.
We talk about getting the hands below the shoulder turn as a priority. If they stay above the shoulder turn, you're going to be in big trouble. So the hands, whether the player's trying to feel it or not, the hands need to be working down in conjunction with turn, not being left on top and then magically it all lines back up again, because it's going to retard the rotation with the body, number one, which
Absolutely, 'cause
is
you're
the
trying to hit the
exact
ball.
opposite effect. Yeah, because nobody's going to miss the ball. And number two, it's going to cause you really to start to shallow late, come under it with the plane and all those things. And if you're not hitting big outright rightward pass, you will be.
Absolutely right. So hope that helps you. Those are three conceptual limitations that may turn into looking like physical limitations
Exactly.
if you're studying your own swing. But throw these concepts into your own game and see if some of these physical limitations don't clean up.
We take players with poor rotation and increase their rotation all the time through concept. We get them more club head speed all the time through concept. The physical limitations can certainly make it better, but most often the limiting factor is the concept, not the physical.
Beautiful. So what's your big physical limitation or conceptual limitation in your swing? And we want to hear from you. We love the questions because it gives us the ability to answer them for you in these videos. And if you haven't already, click the subscribe button below and we will see you in the next video.